for you, like, where do you see what do you think? Where do you think the responsibility should lie, lah? Like right now, between the government, between the social media platforms, who should be taking the larger share of the responsibility for all the online harms that have occurred to us as a whole generation of social media users?
I mean, I also do feel that for the longest time, the social media platforms did not do enough, lah. I think seeing the arguments in the past saying, okay, which Facebook, Spotify, even Twitter has said quite often is that we are a platform and we cannot be held responsible for things that people post. Over time, we've seen that is not the case. I think it was first YouTube. YouTube was the first one who called out and said, okay, we need to do something. It caused a lot of backlash amongst the creators. Then it was, I think, Facebook after the Christchurch massacre. Then Spotify recently, right? Twitter.
What's Spotify's case? Sorry.
With Joe Rogan and all the backlash and COVID misinformation.
Right.
And for the longest time, they always said, okay, we are a platform. We are not going to have influence on editorial. You don't believe in it. If you're an employee, you can walk off for the longest time. But the most recent thing is they formed a committee to kind of curb harmful content on Spotify, an internal committee.
Yeah.
Right? I think after the Christchurch massacre, I think Facebook hired like 10 or 20,000 human like kind of evaluators to curb shit that is posted on Facebook. Like YouTube has updated their algorithm. Twitter is interesting. Like, we are seeing all these countries clamp down at the time when the new CEO is all about free speech. The town square of the internet. So it's going to be interesting to see how Twitter of all kind of fits into like the laws of not just Singapore but other countries as well. So that is the landscape. So I think like I also do feel that the government can't sit back and do nothing. And even though reading this is like, wow, they decide this, they decide that, they decide this. I wish it wasn't this way, but at this point, feels like there's no other solution. The one thing that I was curious is because they gave the examples of Germany, where I think you can be fined up to 2 million euros. Australia, where you have to take down things that are deemed harmful within 24 hours. Like, what is the setup there? And apparently in Germany, it is the Network Enforcement Act, which was passed recently as well. They target social media platforms with 2 million users or more. They have to remove content within 24 hours. Maximum fine of 50 million euros. So that also got a lot of backlash because it is decided by the government. It is a Network Enforcement Act, and I believe that similar to Singapore, the people who are the final decision makers part of government. Then I was like, Australia, they tend to be more consumer friendly. So they also have an act, and it is governed by the E-Safety Commissioner, which it says is an independent entity. But then on their website, it says it's an independent statutory office supported by the Australian Communications and Media Authority. So then I feel like if it's independent, it's supported by the government, that means it's still government, right? The reason why I bring that up is because it feels like maybe the sweet spot is a third-party objective regulator or arbitrator who decides what is right or what is wrong. But
I mean, previously we were hoping that it would be the courts, right, for POFMA. Because I think a lot of people are saying that, POFMA, I mean, regulating the speech is fine, but it should be decided ideally by a court where, both sides can challenge the legality of everything. But POFMA, that's why POFMA has been criticized for again, feeling like it's just one side of the one side that has the power to arbitrate what's real and what's fake news, right?
Yeah, and I mean right now POFMA is a committee, right?
What do you mean a committee?
As in the protection?
No, a minister can step in and just declare something is wrong. Yeah, but it can be challenged in court. But I think it takes a whole process, a long time, Whereas POFMA, allows the minister to almost immediately get something, get a correction made, So, but I guess one interesting thing you mentioned just now was the idea of the Twitter town square, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, philosophically, how I've been thinking about this is that, there's a whole town square of people talking, right? People giving speeches, people talking and all. But the thing is that everyone, if there are a lot of people talking, who can you actually hear, right? And the thing is that how I think about it is that social media companies, what they have been doing is like, they've been going around and deciding who will get a megaphone, who will get a megaphone to use to talk to people in the town square. And they've been handing out these megaphones based on, oh, wow, this person is attracting a big crowd. He must be saying something important. I'll give him a megaphone. Oh, that person, seems to be saying something like that that's triggering a lot of people. I'll give him a megaphone. They're not so much thinking about what the person is actually saying. They're just giving the person, amplifying his voice. And I think what the governments are trying to do, whether it's Germany or Singapore or Australia or that, they're trying to say, hey, the guy that you gave this megaphone to, stuff he's saying is a big problem. Take him away, take away the megaphone, or we'll get someone else to extract him from your platform from here. Or maybe we'll just shut down your platform entirely. Yeah. So the idea of social media companies saying, hey, we got no skin in the game, we don't decide anything, is free speech. That to me is a cop-out, because you still decide who gets the megaphone, you see. And it's, as much as you say it's too very cumbersome thing to do, it's something that can be done with technology and artificial intelligence. You can decide, hey, you can use artificial intelligence to identify what is the person saying, are there certain words they're using and all that they sound harmful in theory and all, and then based on that, try to guide the giving of megaphones to a better kind of a more constructive kind of voice, right? So that's why I don't think it's right that social media firms are just trying to absolve themselves of all responsibility of what kind of content is being amplified on their platforms.
Terrence, are you saying that a creator who has like a huge ass megaphone only got given the megaphone by the platform and it wasn't down to their own drive and determination and creativity? Is that what you're saying?
But you could argue that they know how to game the system to get the megaphone, right?
Like show a bit of skin and all, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Show skin or say something really outrageous that rouse people up, and not necessarily constructive, or you could even be fake news and everything. And so that's the problem we've been grappling with the last 10 years, and just knowing what social media companies, their incentives are, the incentives are not aligned with society, to try and, what I would imagine in society, you want to encourage more constructive conversations and not just give the microphone to the loudest person in the room, right?
So then it's going to become like TV, lah. Social media is going to become like TV, where there's going to be ratings. There's going to be like I don't know. It just feels like then it'll feel less exciting, right? You feel then how to spur on innovation? How to scratch that itch that people want to have scratched in terms of posting whatever they want and all.
I think TV is a bit different because the structure, the business model, everything of TV, it still has to go through networks, right? They are regulated, where content is regulated by the government much more closely, right? And they already have very established rules and guidelines to follow. Whereas when we talk about user-generated content, you can't expect every post to be regulated immediately by the government or whatnot, right? So this is the government reacting whenever there's a post that they deem offensive. So it's only after it's published then they react. Whereas TV is like, before it even goes on TV, it already has passed a few rounds of checks. And I think that's also one of the criticisms here, is that a lot of people are asking, won't this act actually encourage social media firms to self-censor in some sense, police the content much more themselves, or even like, because they have a risk of getting fined or getting shut down, they will actually they won't even dare to go near content that is just still within the boundary but pushing the edges a little bit, right? Is it going to silence, that kind of thing? And I think that's a legitimate concern. So that's why I think it's important that we look at the fine detail, like how are they determining what is harmful content, or how many, when you say a big group, like Healing the Divide, like how big is a big group? Because I think in Germany, under the Network Enforcement Act, it's like if your social media site has like more than 2 million users, it's considered, then it falls under that category. But for, let's say in Singapore, there's a Telegram group of 10,000 users. Is that considered a big enough group that it needs to be regulated? So these are all questions that should be asked. Yeah. I think the MPs, a lot of MPs have been asking as well, right?